Hi guys, and welcome back to Pass and Move. And for today's episode in the amazing AC Milan series, we've got the game against Sampdoria as promised. Of course, playing against them is not normally, I suppose, an important fixture, but as you can tell from the league table, Sampdoria are just below us with 2 points difference. So if they do win, they climb above us. So draw will keep us in our place, but we want to avoid both those scenarios, and we want to win to potentially climb over Juve. Actually, now that I think of it, Serie A is the rules are that results between teams goes ahead of goal difference. So Juventus beat us already, and that means they'll be ahead of us, I think. Even if, but the point is, close the gap on the top and try and secure Champions League football. The board only want Europa League football, like we mentioned before. We want Champions League football, and we're currently in the position of it, thankfully, due to our nice little winning run we've got going on. Unfortunately, our poor start, which was 3 losses and 2 draws, has left us in a position where if we did a tiny bit better, we would have been top. I think we would have been ahead of Napoli. But yeah, we can definitely step up, and there's teams who are supposed to be doing better who aren't, such as Lazio and Roma, as you can tell on the table. Even Udinese, probably. Teams who you weren't expecting to do well, such as Spal, for example. Very mixed bag of a league right now, but point is, we're ahead of Inter, we're in the Champions League spots, and I don't think we can ask for more, but we're going to anyways and try and get all 3 points. So in terms of what happened since the last episode, we showed you that game against Lazio, I believe, the 5-0 win away from home. And as you can tell, a bunch of greens now, things are looking quite good for us, but then against Copenhagen in the Europa League, we managed to lose 5-1. Now this is a hell of a result and a hell of a performance from this guy here, Santander. But I can't really explain the result. I really can't. I thought something suddenly happened. There was something tactically wrong maybe, but really I had a look at the clear-cut chances. There were 0. There was 0 for Copenhagen. They didn't even have any half chances either. It's just a freak result. It's the only thing I can put it down to, because we've managed to bounce back in relatively good fashion, and the results I had before them as well were very decent results. And so it just didn't make any sense. Copenhagen out of nowhere, just in killer form, and our defenders and our goalkeeper arguably let us down that day. Bonaventura though still managed to get on the score sheet, so that was good for us. Against Bologna, we managed to score a single goal to help us win all 3 points through Nicola, of course. Who else? It was away from home, never going to be an easy fixture, but it was good to get all 3 points nonetheless. Against Crotone, pretty much AC Milan players scoring all round. Patrick there is the player that we did send out on loan. It's good to see him performing well. Nicolas scoring a brace for us, and Ricardo Rodriguez also scoring in the 73rd minute to give us a nice little comfortable result, I suppose. But as you can see, Patrick, who we sent out on loan, to develop a little bit better so that he can challenge Silva as well as Nicola for the striker role. He's doing incredibly well. 14 starts, 10 goals, 2 assists. And can't wait to get him back, really. I wasn't a huge fan of sending him out on loan, but it just made sense that he can actually get the game time, and he is getting it with Crotone, which is good to see, of course. I think there have been just 14 games played. Okay, 13 for most teams, but Crotone have played 14. He's played all of them, so it's really good to see that he's being a key player for them. Europa League, though, managed to bounce back 4-0 with Kessie, Kalinic, David Calabria, the right back scoring, or right wing back more accurately, and Sousa also scoring the 72nd minute to give us a nicer result and send us into knockout stages of the Europa League. And as you can tell, all the teams that we need to keep an eye on are performing well as well. So, maybe Everton not so much so, but we've qualified for knockout stages. Our goal difference is less superior to Copenhagen's, but if we win our next game and they lose theirs, then we should qualify top of our group. But either way, we've got it secured, and you never know what kind of draw you're going to get. So yeah, I think we can just get into today's game. Sampdoria is going to be a huge one, given the circumstances. I don't think we're actually rivals. If I can have a quick look at the general. It's Inter, Juve, Roma, Napoli, Fiorentina, Lazio, Verona, and Atlanta. And that's kind of it. Okay, so that makes sense. Alright then. So, today's team made up of the usuals, I suppose. Donnarumma comes back in because it is a Serie A game. We've got Predrag playing the cup competition games. As you can see, his fitness is good too. Matteo, Leonardo and Alessio are our first choice centre-back partnerships, and they're all going to start today. We've got Calabria as a wing-back, as well as Ricardo. Bate is still injured, so he's not playing. Ricardo Rodriguez, of course, in good form. A lot of our starting 11 players, best players, all in good form and fit for today's fixture. It's pretty much just Abate who misses out. And that's it, no serious injuries. Both Ricardo and Abate are expected to be back within days, really. And Andrea Conti is the only major one that's, from the start of the season now. He's expected to be out for just 2 to 4 months. So he could be back very much within the January transfer window, and that will cause me to sell potentially Abate, because, that would make us have 3 right backs. So that's a different issue for a different time. We can get into today's game, I think, and hopefully try and continue our winning run away from home against a very tough team where if we want Champions League football, this is a kind of match that we need to win. So Sampdoria is setting up in a very, it's not necessarily defensive, but it's, they are protecting themselves a little bit. Hopefully we can still drag the defensive midfielders out of position by exploiting the flanks. We do have overlapping partnerships with Rodriguez and Calabria getting ahead of Suso and Bonaventura, who are playing those support roles. So hopefully we do isolate them, take advantage of them, and maybe drag out their midfielders, so that way we can start to exploit the middle too. But very much so I expect them to win that midfield battle, but hopefully we win the flanks one. They've got 2 strikers, but they should be easily dealt with our 3 centre-backs as well. But yeah, I think, if our players continue performing well, then we should be alright. We should definitely still be getting the result. Let's see if we're favourites. Team Talk seems to suggest that, so let's give one that reflects of it. So expect a winning run is ideally the situation we want to have. Alright then, let's make sure we've got everything set. Key highlights on 2D and 3D for the goal highlights. I think we're finally good to go. So yeah, much better than early season form. Players are adjusting to the tactic well. They're getting good comprehension with each other, and I think, as you can tell, good cohesion, good passing. It feels like everyone's confident. Everyone's working well together in a system, and more importantly, everyone's always got a pass available to them when needed. Calabria deciding to do against that time, but I guess he's trying to beat his man and deliver the cross from the byline, which is what we're asking of him. He's failed to do so then, but the wing backs are going to be incredibly important in today's game, and we need them in top form, basically. Even so much so to the point that if the game does look to be, a bit not going in our direction, I suppose, and either one of our wing backs are underperforming, we might have to consider substituting them rather than the players who are ahead of them. So much so is their importance in today's fixture. But it looks quite even. No real highlights, but the statistics suggest it could go either way. Rodriguez goes safely back to our deep line playmaker, and he plays a really good ball to Calabria. He can just deliver a good ball into the box and we'll be good to go. Oh, Nicola hits the crossbar. It's there for anyone, but Sampdoria run away with it, and nice little tackle there by Matteo. But the delivery was not bad. A bunch of really good balls, basically, being passed around. And if we just get that final delivery right, we can seriously punish this Sampdoria side, who look to be trying to hit us on the counter-attack. Nicola rises, heads it back to Calabria. He switches the flank, and Bonaventura just needs to find his wing back. Cuts inside instead, switches it to Suso. Can Suso find his wing back instead? He does really well. Calabria is free. Can he find the cross? He squares it. Nicola's there. And there you go. That's the kind of football that we want to see. Our inside forwards finding their supporting wing backs, and our striker getting on the end of crosses, which is so important. We're playing him as an advanced forward specifically for that reason. We don't want him playing any sort of support role. We want him getting on the end of crosses and finishing off chances. And as you can see, he's on the shoulder of the last defender there. And when Calabria comes in, he could potentially shoot there for a second, but he squares it and goes for Nicola, which is the smarter option. It almost looks like Torre cleared it onto Kalanic's head, and that way it goes in. I don't know, it's a really weird one. But either way, point is 1-0. We need the 3 points. I don't care how they go in, as long as they do go in. Delivery. Set piece, not that good, but Sousa can pick up the pieces outside the box. He goes by himself, and it's a very decent shot because at least it's on target. If we put it to the left side of the goalkeeper a bit more, we might have been alright and grabbed a second. Another corner, and it does get cleared once more by Sampdoria. We just have to avoid losing it, and we can build once more. Alright, Alessio doing the safer thing probably, but we still have a throw in. Lucas on a yellow. It's not good to see a deep line playmaker on defend duty on a yellow. Hopefully he doesn't pick up any more or foul anyone anymore, really, but let's hope the centre backs behind him provide him with adequate cover. Bonaventura back to Rodriguez. Lucas is there to pick up the pieces once more. Switches a flank again really well. Calabria just heads it down to Suso. He's quickly surrounded, but Calabria once more. His delivery is quite decent to Bonaventura. Kessie! Oh, that's over. That's not too bad from the box-to-box midfielder, I suppose. It's kind of why we want to play a... Ooh. Ah, there you go. He gets his goal nonetheless. But see, this is my dilemma, I suppose. A central midfielder on support duty makes a lot more sense to a box-to-box midfielder, because we talked about how being a box-to-box midfielder means you roam, you isolate your fellow midfielder, and you know Lucas is going to be left alone in midfield quite often when Kessie plays as a box-to-box midfielder. But at the same time, he offers that threat that we've seen so far today, and so that's the kind of dilemma that we need to deal with. We don't deal with that set piece well, but either way, it just falls into Donnarumma's hands, thankfully. So yeah, that's the problem. Centre midfield on support definitely defends us a bit better, gives us a better shape. Lucas isn't isolated and maybe forced into tackles that give him yellow cards, for example, like today. But of course, it means that we lose out on Kessie's attacking nature, I suppose. Alright, so players are complacent. Let's warn them of their complacency. Some of them have become focused, but really, I'm not concerned about that. I'm more concerned about us grabbing a third goal to truly kill off the game, because if Sampdoria grab one here, it's going to be uncomfortable for us. But so far, on course for all 3 points. Alright, boys, I'd like to see one of my wingers score a goal. Done some decent support play today, but I want one of the wing backs to cross the ball to the far post and one of my wingers to finish it off. Alright, Bonaventura, decent game, a little bit tired I suppose. We substitute him off for Hakan. And we can switch Hakan to advanced playmaker, so that we have a playmaker on either side of the field, either side of the pitch I suppose. Got deep line playmaker on Lucas on the right and an advanced playmaker Hakan on the left. So eventually what we want to work towards, and that's kind of it, I think, the only change. No real poor performers, no one else necessarily too tired. Hakan has an opportunity. He's complained about game time. He's unhappy, tried to look for a move. I sort of shut him down, but he's still unhappy with his game time, of course. Hasn't asked to necessarily leave, but he is unhappy with his first team football. So hopefully we can give him some game time. When I came to the club, he was already asking for... he was already expecting... Alright, this is a bit of a problem. Want to leave, I supposed to be Kessie's backup. I don't want to risk him. You know what, let's just leave Kessie on to continue enjoying his game. I'd rather take off Lucas on a yellow. There are some more deserving players to come off, more tired players I suppose. We'll take off Rodriguez for Aaron, give him a bit of match time. Nicola, you've done decently today, but let's see if Silva can have an influence off the bench and grab us that third goal. But yeah, I mean, you know, when I reached, Hakan was already expecting first team football. That was the contract that AC Milan used to lure him into the club. I've obviously changed the squad status to rotation. That doesn't necessarily do anything, you know. I mean, it just helps him know his role, but he can still be unhappy with his role in the team because he's, you know, expecting first team football. Obviously, you know, at least he knows what's expected of him, but if I came then he was already a rotational paper player, it would have made things a little bit, you know, easier for us. A bunch of these players here in our AC Milan side were actually first team players before I came. They were offering first team player contracts to pretty much everyone. Which is a huge mistake and can cause unrest. Thankfully, Hakan's unhappiness hasn't spread to anyone else, but it's not nice to see him unhappy as well. He's a very decent player. He's just unfortunate that Bonaventura is a bit better than him. It's a very small difference in ability, but it counts for something. And you know, who knows? Hakan does have a tiny bit of potential in him. If he does improve, we could potentially see him overtake Bonaventura. Let's have a quick look at him. He's 23 years of age. He does still have that tiny bit more of potential. And you know, very decent as an advanced playmaker. Can even play him as an inside forward as well, but I do want that tiny bit more of a playmaking role for him. At the same time, his acceleration pace isn't that great, so it would make more sense to play as advanced playmakers. Crossing and dribbling and finishing is very decent too for an inside forward. Teamwork comes into question when he plays an advanced playmaker, but I think that could be sacrificed a bit given how we've, you know, got 3 centre-backs and 2 wing-backs, and, you know, midfielders are protecting him quite well. So, you know, as long as he does his attacking bit, I won't be too concerned about that teamwork issue. But anyways, 3 points is what we came after, and 3 points is what we got away from home. Not necessarily creating too many chances, but we were very clinical in front of goal. I think I would argue with the match engine that some of the, chances that we had were clear-cut chances, but they didn't consider it to be clear-cut. So, maybe that's what the game did when we were playing against Copenhagen as well. Who knows? But either way, 2-0, 3 points. That's all that matters. And I think we stay in the same position, but we're very much secure in our Champions League spot right here. So even if we lose the next game, Sampdoria can't catch us, Inter are there, we can drop to 4th and still qualify for Champions League football. So it's really good to see us do that, and let's see how Napoli and Juventus perform. I don't know if they're facing each other. No, Napoli faced Lazio. I mean, big game, but the way, where Lazio are on the table, maybe it's not necessarily so. Juventus and Torino, where are Torino? 13th. Yeah, I don't think they have too much to fight for. They do want to avoid getting into relegation scrap though, so maybe there's that. Either way. Marino spotted. What's his unique? Oh, come on, leave my players alone, Marino. He always tortures me no matter what save I've got. Suso and Bonaventura both are freaking wingers. It's not going to be pleasing. We definitely need Champions League football so we can avoid Manchester United trying to steal our players, or anyone else for that matter. But anyways, that was the fixture for November, so in terms of when we'll be back, it's obviously going to be in December. The Italian Cup starts then as well. Do the Italians not have a winter break? Or is it here between this fixtures here in January? I'm not sure. I think it is this winter break here, because I don't think there's any international fixtures. Huge games against Juventus and Roma back-to-back, very similar to the beginning of the season as well. But let's see here, this is where December matters. So up until Napoli, and that's probably the game we're going to show you. Fiorentina are quite a big one, but Napoli is a bit further away and more important, especially if we're trying to go for the title. We're away from home, which makes it bigger. We can pretty much show you all of these 3 games here, but I did show you Juventus and Roma earlier, so maybe just stick to Napoli would make a bit more sense. But yeah, I think that's all for today's episode. So if you did enjoy it, of course, please hit the like button and subscribe for more daily Football Manager 2018 content. And of course, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. And once again, guys, thank you all very much for watching.